Hello, this is John with Brainstorm Comics and Gaming.
And this is Mickey, the better part of Brainstorm Comics and Gaming, even though I don't own anything in it.
Just a frequenter of the store. So before we begin our first topic, I wanted to ask you whether the rumors are true that Marvel fans can thank you for Keanu Reeves being offered the role of Kraven because you turned it down first.
Absolutely. I look just like Kraven.
That's what we were thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads us into topic number one. The MCU is attracting some of the biggest names in Hollywood for their movies. Rumors began to swirl this week that Keanu Reeves was offered the role of Kraven the Hunter. Is this a bogus journey, or is Marvel right to be in the extreme pursuit of this actor?
I just read this morning that he'd already declined, but I have no idea. I mean, I like Keanu, but should he be Kraven? I don't know. Probably not my first pick, and so when I was looking up some of the information, I went to Comic Book Movie came up. They had a top 10 list of other actors if it doesn't work out, and they had, I don't know if it's any particular order, Henry Cavill, Luke Evans, Daveed Diggs, Manu Bennett. I might be butchering these names, but I don't care. Jason Momoa, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Idris Elba, Pedro Pascal, Joe Margielano, and Joel Kinnaman were some of their.
The one is the guy who plays Negan, right?
Yeah, the one which is actually a pick I could see. I mean, my favorite on there is Jason Momoa. I think he's the perfect look. I mean, I don't care that he was Aquaman. I'd love to see that. Would be cool in my opinion. I think he kind of looks the.
So I think Marvel's in kind of a dangerous situation right now, in that at first they were taking lesser known actors for these roles, and now it seems like they're kind of going a little bit bigger names with some of them. I think they should probably stick to the mid-level actors and elevate them instead of going with the bigger name ones. But don't get me wrong, Robert Downey Jr. is obviously a bigger name.
I don't agree with that. I think the lead roles have been pretty decent names.
You think so? When they were first cast in the roles?
I mean, even if you go all the way back to Spider-Man, I mean, Toby wasn't a nobody.
But I'm talking about like the MCU, like the proper.
I'm saying like what main lead characters were nobodies.
Well, like Chris Pratt, I wouldn't say was like a top tier guy until like afterwards. I would say.
Okay, for one of the series that wasn't even a big name. Who knew of Guardians of the Galaxy before they decided to do it? So you can go with a lesser name on that. I don't think you can take even your B tier characters and say, hey, I mean, Marvel's got the money to bring in the big guns. Why not? Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with unknowns too. I mean, but I mean, if you can find somebody that fits the part exactly and you know is going to kill it, why not?
Yeah, I can understand that. Like I said, I don't know. I would stick with like the mid-tier actors and
well, that's because you're cheap.
It's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll turn the page on that one. So we'll turn to topic two. Due to some extremist groups co-opting the Punisher skull symbol, there are rumors Disney may be quietly distancing itself from the character and his iconography. Is this an appropriate action, or do you think it's an overreaction?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I hate all of that type of stuff. So what if it was a different group that took it, or what if that extremist group had the grumpy bear symbol? Are they gonna get rid of Care Bears? It's dumb. The character's been around forever. I just don't think it should go away. But I mean, who knows what they're gonna do? I don't like it personally.
I will say I understand to a certain degree their stance. And the reason I say that is the swastika before the Nazis co-opted it was actually a religious symbol, and obviously it's been tainted greatly by what the Nazis did. Even Hitler's mustache, it used to be a popular type of mustache, and now obviously nobody really wants to have that mustache either because of what it's associated with. So like I said, I understand from a business perspective, that you don't want to be tied to any kind of group that is extremist in nature. But kind of like you, I also think like this character exists in and of itself. Like within the stories, you can easily address this, and one of the writers has addressed this in the past already. So I think there's ways to combat it without getting rid of the character entirely.
Okay. I mean, I would probably go off the deep end talking about it because I really hate it. I hate when that kind of stuff happens. So I'll just shut my mouth before you lose viewership.
I got you, because I told you we wanted to stay away from the deep political aspects of it and talk more like a overview. But
I mean, I can agree with what you said too. I mean, I guess from a certain perspective, I can see the other side, but I don't. Doesn't necessarily mean I think the other side is right, and everybody's got too many freaking feelings.
I understand.
Whatever.
Well, like I said, there are ways to combat it though, and I think that Disney would probably be better served to do that, especially since he is a popular character, and I think leaving it behind to the extremist groups is a worse idea.
What would you do to combat it? What do you even mean by that?
I think that there's ways to tell the stories and prove that he's not that character, like that those groups kind of identify with. Kind of take it away from them in that aspect, in that way of it.
Okay.
Well, like I said, I think it was Mark Rosenberg who wrote the issue, who talked about like, hey, this character is not what these extremist groups think it is. This is what it's more like. And I think more stories like that would probably help.
Perhaps.
So we'll turn the page on that one, and we'll turn to topic number 3. In every hobby, there are aspects that we wish would go the way of the dinosaur, or may even push some of us out of the hobby altogether. What is one of the biggest problems in the hobby you wish would disappear?
Reboots of established characters.
Okay.
Hate it. I can't. I mean, we
What's an
have
example?
so many volumes of Batman 1, Spider-Man 1, Superman 1, Avengers 1, Iron Man 1.
So you're talking about more titles than actual characters being rebooted.
Well, their characters are still. Yes, I'm not talking about a specific let's do. Although they say they're going to redo the characters a lot of times when they do these reboots, but my point is, it's like I don't. I just don't. It drives me crazy. I mean, the series doesn't need it, and I guess I get why they do it because it's a new number 1. People come buy it and stuff like that. I'd much rather see them continue to go the route of hyping up a new creative team. Leave the series alone. I don't need.
So the strange thing, look, like you were getting ready to say, like they normally do it with a new creative team they're coming on, but that's a relatively new phenomenon over the last decade or so. And the weird thing is, like when J. Michael Straczynski came on Amazing Spider-Man, like he totally changed the dynamic of that. Sales definitely went up at that point. Mark Millar when he came on Wolverine with the Old Man Logan stuff, and there's a lot of examples that you don't have to start with the number 1 in order to get the numbers. If you have a good creative team that you hype well, that seems like they would fit it well.
And it might take a couple issues, but then people will go and hunt down the other issues, which helps stores like yours because they're already back issues at that point in time.
In addition to that, they also start hunting back older
issues to see what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly. I really kind of despise that. It just drives me crazy. I don't really. I mean, like I said, I kind of get why they do it from a business perspective, but it just drives me nuts. I get it for stuff that they try.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, Moon Knight comes and goes. Iron Fist comes and goes. OMAC comes and goes. New Gods comes and goes. They're just ones that they try.
Legion.
Yeah, Legion. 8, I mean, what are they on? Like volume 9 or something? Which, I mean, if it wasn't for you, I probably wouldn't have read the whole when Abnett was on it, and I'm like, he's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And that goes to your point of just hype the creative team.
Yes. So one of the things that I wish would disappear is actually something that a customer of ours brought to my attention last week. So he brought in some books to get graded, and he was very excited, and I had to deliver some bad news to him.
I remember you telling me this.
So I saw the price on the book, and I was like, I asked him where he got the book from, and he seemed kind of reluctant to tell me. And they go, I don't want to go there. I'm actually going to avoid this place because of what I'm about to tell you. And he was like, what are you going to tell me? And he had a Fantasy Masterpieces #1, which is a reprint of Silver Surfer. Because of how close it looks to Silver Surfer, he thought it was
the real
thing. And the price tag was not as high as the Silver Surfer one should be, but it was also much higher than what a Fantasy Masterworks #1 should be. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes there are stores out there that are very predatory on customers that aren't as in the know or as savvy as others. And like I said, I felt bad delivering that news to him, but I also would have felt bad grading a book for him that was clearly not worth getting graded at that point.
No, I mean, I agree. I see that on eBay all the time. I mean, I'm constantly looking on there and stuff. And you can tell right away that sometimes you're either dealing with somebody that literally has no comic book sense whatsoever, or like you said, I understand that there's that, and there's enough awareness that comic books have value now, but there's also the people, like you said, that I guarantee they're putting it out there hoping that the person with no knowledge comes along and sees, Spider-Man 1 and it's a Marvel Tales 1, or whatever the example is, and that's kind of awful if you're doing it on purpose.
Because it pushes people out of the industry, because if they get burnt, like, they're going to be like, why am I staying in this? And to me, it should be fun.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of buyer beware. I mean, if your friend was able to, he's like, he had to realize this is a phenomenal deal. I mean, maybe if he would have been thinking a little bit more, text you real quick and with a picture and say, is this a great deal or not? And then you could have been like, that's a reprint, and then he would have known.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we've all made mistakes, before. So
yeah, I'm not gonna say it, but I don't know. I feel that there are stores out there that are kind of like you said.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree with that.
So our big topic over the last year, people have begun to question whether AT&T has the stomach or heart to continue their print comics. Well, according to Bleeding Cool and a few other comic news sources, there may be a hero or heroes who heard the call for help. A cabal of uber-rich fans are reportedly trying to purchase the print rights to DC's characters. Is this the help DC fans were looking for?
Maybe.
The details were kind of thin on the...
I would love to see DC get away from, the big corporate, part of a corporation that doesn't understand the fan base. So either they totally make it separate and let people that know what they're doing run the show, which I thought they were leaning towards, but I don't know, they still seem to mess up. However, if they go the route that you're talking about, and here's my concern with what you just read, the part that says fan, okay? If it's just a bunch of rich fans and they're able to do it, and in those fans there's either not quality business leaders or they're not going to hire business leaders because they think they know it all, then I think we got bigger problems than we have right now.
So one of the things they said is, in order to be part of this group, you had to have either a Detectives 27 or an Action Comics #1, and one of the speculation was that it might be Steve Geppi. I guess that would bring DC back to Diamond, but would that push Marvel out? That's another question, if he is one of the ones in that group. Going to what you said, so even without, let's take writers who are fans of characters. Mark Waid is a huge fan of Legion. One of the worst runs on Legion was Mark Waid's run, because he is such a fan, and just because you're a fan doesn't always mean that you are made to write that character. Sometimes it makes you put on blinders to things.
Right.
So if these uber rich fans are buying it, nobody's gonna be able to tell them no, because they're the uber rich fans who own
and that's just basically exactly what I'm talking about, an elaboration of the problems that could cause if they don't, if they don't come up with a system to back off and let people that know what they're doing do their thing, then it's not going to work. But if they can take it and leave it alone, so to speak, and just let the comic books be what they should, and the movies and the TV shows and all that stuff.
So I'll tell you another fear of mine. And still in that same sort of thread that we were just talking about. A lot of DC fans love like the Silver Age, and if they try turning back the clock and like, hey, we're gonna like do this DC and Amber sort of thing, like stuck in stasis, we're gonna go back to the Silver Age. I think it's gonna be a huge detriment to the company, to the print. I love Jeff Johns, but I feel like when he brought back like Barry Allen and Hal Jordan, I feel like that was a step backwards. Like we talked about in the previous one, how they're big on legacy. So if it's a backtrack again, that's not a good thing. But if they're fans, that might be what they grew up with, and that might be what they want in their characters and what they want to print. So like I said, so on that same thread that we were talking about, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. Now, normally people who have gotten rich don't like losing money, so there might be a point where they're like, oh, we're losing money, perhaps we do have to change course, but...
Yeah, but if they let it go that far, and then, I mean, is there coming back from that if you do that again? I mean, it's like, I feel like we're always having this discussion, and it's always about DC, and, what they're doing, and what they can't get right, and stuff like that, and the sad thing is there's so many... I think all the good stuff gets looked over. I mean, you and I can sit here for hours and tell people fantastic reads. Like, why is there never any big hype for that? Or why can't they? I don't even care. I don't even care if you're in second place. Copy exactly what Marvel does and put your characters on the map.
Well, I know I keep beating this drum, but I really do think that DC took the wrong turn when they brought those two characters back, Hal Jordan and Barry Allen. I feel like it was the second tier and third tier characters that were actually the ones that were much better written after that, and I feel like, and don't get me wrong, Jeff Johns had some great run on Green Lantern after that.
We bring characters back all the time. Why particularly, like, what's your exact reason that you didn't like that?
Because DC had already progressed at that point. Like they
enough they could have lived without it.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I feel like Hal Jordan was a much better bad guy for Kyle Rayner.
Oh, I know you love that. I know you.
And Barry Allen had the great sacrifice in the '80s for the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they robbed them, both of those characters, of critical turning points in their development, but also in the development of the DC universe.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I can totally see that. I can get on board with that.
Yeah. So like you said, I honestly don't even believe the story at all. Like some people might be trying, but I doubt that AT&T would do it with a small cabal of people.
What does AT&T care if they can get what they want from it though?
I just don't. I don't know if they can give them what they want. But
maybe not. But I mean. Whatever.
We'll see. I mean, we'll see as it develops. I mean, Bleeding Cool does a lot of their stories have some kernels of truth, but not necessarily like the fullness of it. So
that's true.
So we'll see how that goes as we go along. So the quick takes one this week. I think both of us were pretty excited about the quick take topic this week.
Yeah, it probably could have been a longer list too, right? No, seriously.
Yeah, I think we could have done. Maybe we'll do a whole show in the future about which ones. So the topic is, it has always been my belief that every character has the potential to be popular and break out, given the right opportunity. What are 3 characters you feel could explode given the right creative team?
Well, go ahead, John.
So I'll start off with my first one, and that's Weapon H. I told you when this character first came out that I felt like he had a lot of potential, and he actually his first appearance is actually going for a decent amount of money.
And he told me to buy it, and I didn't because I thought the concept was stupid.
So the character is kind of like a mashup of Wolverine and Hulk. But the important part to me was that it was a disenfranchised youth who kind of gets co-opted by extremism, and I feel like Marvel could have had like a really good like storyline out of this, and I feel like they missed a lot of beats on it that they could have.
At the beginning, you said it was very good.
Yes.
It was very good, and then you had a little bit of a taper off, if I remember, and then it kind of, for the reasons I guess you're pointing out, kind of tapered off.
Yeah, and I still feel like they can still revisit it and go deeper into it. He could definitely be a product of what's going on now in terms of, like I said, the disenfranchised with politics and what's going on in the country and stuff. So what's your,
you want to go back and
forth?
forth?
We'll alternate,
Well, okay, because I have two lists.
Okay.
But so I have two lists because when John gave me the topic and I sent him my first three, he goes, "I thought you'd do older characters." I'm like, "You didn't tell me to do older characters." So I came up with two lists. I have old characters and new characters. So I will start with an older character, and my first on my list is Iron Fist. I feel like Iron Fist had a bad TV show. I didn't hate it, but it was not received well by fans. He's been around for quite a long time, mid-70s, and he keeps getting rebooted. There's a lot of number ones, and I feel like
Baker had a great run on it that was very well received.
But you get my point. It's like he always dies off. I think the character's got potential. I mean, I think people like martial arts. I think his costume's cool. I think he's got the mythological history for somebody to tap into more.
And clearly people are interested in it because his first appearance is definitely like a blue chip kind of like book.
It's not high though. I mean, I had two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I have one now, but
it's not low either though. Like it's definitely.
It's less than $1,000. That's not very much money for a good copy too. I mean, maybe a 9/8 over $1,000, but even still, it's not. You can get solid copies for not much money, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's my first old.
You can go with the new one also. We'll do.
All right, I'll do a new one, and I'm not going to go for my first pick on a new one because I want to talk about it a little bit more. So my second pick on new ones is Clown Killer. I love that character in Joker War, and I really want to know more about him. And I haven't read the annual that you told me to read about his origins, but I thought he was cool.
I know people are excited about him. A lot of people feel like he was actually has more potential than even Punchline.
Oh, I couldn't wait to turn the page and see more of him during that storyline. Although I did like Punchline. I thought she was better than I expected.
Yeah. So my next pick is Sideways, the Dan Didio creation. It was kind of like he can travel between like dimensions and such. He's kind of like a Spider-Man type character. If Dan Didio had given it to a real writer instead of writing it himself, I feel like it would have gone better. It would have gone better.
I'm not very familiar with that. I kind of remember it. Where would he first show up?
He was part of the New Age of Heroes that they did after Dark Knight's Metal. It was kind of the darker stuff. I believe he had lost his parents to the things that had happened in Dark Knight's Metal. So I feel like he has a lot of potential, especially if they hire a writer that can make him like very jovial and like kind of cracking jokes, kind of like Peter does. I feel like there's a lot there. The New Age of Heroes, a lot of them were kind of like knockoffs of Marvel characters, kind of like you said. DC always feels kind of that inferiority complex.
Yeah, but the problem is a lot of the ideas came from their characters, and Marvel just took. Yes. That's a whole nother discussion, but still.
I agree. You know, DC's my favorite.
I know.
Company,
I know.
All
even
right.
though Flash sucks.
All right, next.
He just wipe me out of there. He's like, "Shut up, Mickey."
What are your?
All right, old. I'd love to see somebody do something with Omega Men. I remember when I was a kid, when they got their own series, I was super pumped for it. I believe Giffen was writing it at the time. I was a big fan of Legion at that time, so I was pretty excited. It's been so long ago, I can hardly even remember any of the characters, but I just feel like there's a group that they could tap into and let just somebody go wild because they don't have like a super rich history to like it's wide open.
First appearance of the main man.
I mean, I don't really care that much about Lobo, but I'd like to see, here's a group, you gotta, I guess the equivalent in Marvel side would be Starjammers or something like that, but I don't know. Again, it's just, it might be a little bit of nostalgia coming in from that perspective for me, but it's one that I always was like, it kind of petered out, and I would have liked to seen them do more.
Gotcha.
And then my new would be Silk. And you could probably argue that some of these have a little bit of reputation, but so when all these new Spider characters came out, and I remember picking them up, and I actually remember being excited for Spider-Gwen. I read it, and I was like, this isn't that good. And I read Silk, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this character. Well, I mean, I actually read her first in Amazing Spider-Man 4, the new volume. But anyways, I just love the concept of them not like being so attracted to each other, and they can't help it, and it's just, I think it's great to work with.
So the funny thing about Silk is Marvel really wanted her to be the breakout character.
It was for me.
But Spider-Gwen is the one that,
Yeah,
that caught on because of the look of the character. Marvel was pushing hard, like, oh, this is the character you're going to love, this is the character you're going to love. And I think fans hate being told what to love, and I think that was part of the reason why she did not catch on as much. I think they were like, screw you. Like,
we're going to go like this one instead. I don't know. I love her. I think she's got a ton of potential. We'll see what happens with the new series.
I like her costume also. Like, as much as people go gaga over the Spider-Gwen one, I'm not saying that's a bad one, but I feel like the Silk one's like good as well. I don't know.
Yeah, you just don't get it.
Yeah.
I kind of don't get it either. But I think we touched on, well, I think it was a topic you want to talk to in the future sometimes, was about quality versus what's popular, so to speak. I don't know exactly how you worded that.
Yeah.
Probably be a good topic sometime.
So my last one is the character Mosaic. I feel like this character has a ton of potential. I feel like they did a lot of missteps with this one also. It was very hot when it first came out of the gate.
It was very hyped.
It was very hyped also. It was in a book that a lot of stores did not wear a lot of Inhumans. Marvel was definitely trying to push Inhumans at that point. So the character can inhabit other people's bodies, and he knows and learns what they learn, and he retains that knowledge. The reason I think that this has so much potential is that it could definitely follow the Denzel Washington movie sort of thing, the Fallen movie. Definitely go in darker aspects and things like that. Mm-hmm. I feel like I know that DC has like Dead Man also, like he's another one I also feel like could be.
Are you laughing at it, or could
be
good,
explored more? Like, I feel like I've read a couple of his series that I'm like, why are people reading this?
Yeah.
But I feel like Mosaic has that same sort of quality. They could do like a horror story, which we now we've seen Immortal Hulk definitely take like a whole different like approach to his character and prove that you can do the horror stories and have some cool stuff happen in those and attract a readership.
All done with Mosaic? Are you looking at me so I can go now?
Yeah, or you can comment on Mosaic.
I don't know much about him other than the fact is if people want picks, listen to him sometimes, because he told me to buy that one too. I know it hasn't taken off, so to speak, but but
if the
right writer, that actually the concept is phenomenal. I mean,
I can see him being employed even by Shield, like Shield using him, like capturing him, and like
doing stuff or whatever. Just tons of possibilities.
Yeah.
All right, so my last two, I guess. So my old one would be another DC character. Boy, DC just can't get a grip on anything. And a character that I always kind of wanted to like, and I always thought his costume was really cool. And then I'd read stuff, and some of it was pretty cool, and some of it was like, I don't get this character at all, which would be Dr. Fate. So probably became more interested into him with John's run on JSA. But regardless, almost just from you got a cool costume, dude. You got to do something with a cool costume.
His look is amazing.
Yeah. And he's got
simple but very
right, and he's got the mystical powers and stuff like that. I feel like you got powers like that. There's a lot you can do with it, and there's a lot you can take away from the character if you need to. A lot you can give the character. Anyways, just one that I think somebody could do with. And the most recent I think was when I think he was in he had a big part in Young Justice, animated series. Anyhow, and then my number one pick is, and I've been harping on this character to John for a while, like she's awesome, would be Jessica Cruz. She is she might be my favorite Green Lantern. I just wasn't expecting anything, and because I usually pick up Green Lantern to see what they're doing, I picked up. Actually, this one was called Green Lanterns. I know she had some earlier appearances in JLA and Green Lantern and stuff like that, her first appearance. But anyways, when she's by herself, if you don't know about her, she has like a lot of anxiety and things like that.
Which definitely speaks to a lot of millennials.
It does, and the fact is, if you put that together with a ring that you have to be confident about, I just think it's great. I didn't like her brother at all. I thought Simon was the way lesser character in the series, but I think Jessica could be a superstar Green Lantern. And the fact that HBO is saying something about using her and stuff like that.
One of the characters.
If they ruin her, I'm gonna be so pissed.
So, I think that DC made some missteps with her in terms of they started making her more confident far too quickly. I think that takes away an aspect of her character. Like you were saying, that's what kind of makes it interesting is that she is so anxiety ridden with the ring. But like I said, they've already had her overcome a lot of things with her anxiety.
Doesn't mean they can't trigger it back.
I
mean, but I am 100% with you. If they take it all away and they're just like, oh, I overcame everything, and it's not, like, then it's gonna be dead to me.
The thing is, like, and Marvel's a big. I think this is what DC is starting to get, but they bypass at some point. Marvel's always very good at making their characters flawed and like not perfect,
yes.
And that's why I think Jessica Cruz is so
relatable and everything.
Yeah, like that attracts people to her. But yeah, I definitely agree with that one. There's another one that I can see a lot coming out of. So that's it for this episode of Turning the Page. Hopefully you enjoyed watching it. We asked you like the video, follow us on social media. We have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page. So this week we're also doing something special for Turning the Page. We're probably going to do this every week. We'll see how this goes. You have a chance to win the first issue of Department of Truth. This is the Jenny Frison variant cover. We will have a link in the description of where to go to the website, so you can enter there. Like I said, let us know what you think. Department of Truth is definitely catching fire. It's been optioned for a TV show. So it's a good book to have.
Yeah, and let us know if you want to push John out. We're trying to get Jake over here instead.
So thank you for watching. And apparently I will not be here next week. Have a good one.